Welcome to Theosis, where we delve deep into the teachings of the Church Fathers. Today, we explore St. John Chrysostom's reflections on Matthew 20-25, focusing on the parables of the Last Judgment. These parables reveal profound lessons about God's grace, our preparedness for the kingdom, and the final judgment. Let's uncover how Chrysostom interprets these teachings and their relevance for our spiritual lives. We start with the parable of the workers in the vineyard, a powerful lesson on grace and equality. In Matthew 20:1-16, Christ tells the parable of the workers in the vineyard, where laborers hired at different times of the day receive the same wage. St. John Chrysostom explains that this parable illustrates God's boundless grace and the nature of divine generosity. Chrysostom highlights that the parable challenges human notions of fairness and merit. In the story, all workers receive the same payment despite varying hours of work. This reflects God's grace, which is not earned by our efforts but freely given. The parable underscores that God's generosity surpasses human expectations and that His grace is available to all, regardless of when they come to faith. For Chrysostom, the key lesson is to recognize that God's ways are not our ways, and His grace operates beyond human logic. We should cultivate gratitude rather than envy, understanding that every gift from God is an act of unmerited favor. The parable invites us to reflect on our attitude towards others and to rejoice in the generosity of God, rather than compare ourselves to others. Next, we explore the parable of the 10 virgins, which teaches about preparedness for the kingdom of heaven. In Matthew 25:1-13, Christ tells the parable of the 10 virgins, where 5 are wise and bring extra oil for their lamps, while 5 are foolish and do not. St. John Chrysostom interprets this parable as a call to spiritual preparedness and vigilance. Chrysostom explains that the wise virgins represent those who are prepared for the coming of the bridegroom, Christ, demonstrating faithfulness and readiness. The foolish virgins, on the other hand, fail to prepare and are left out when the bridegroom arrives. This parable emphasizes the importance of being spiritually alert and ready for Christ's return. For Chrysostom, the parable serves as a warning against complacency and spiritual laziness. It calls believers to maintain their faith and practice continually, ensuring that they are always prepared to meet Christ. The oil symbolizes the virtues and good works that sustain our faith, highlighting the need for ongoing spiritual growth and preparation. Finally, we delve into the parable of the talents, which focuses on accountability and using our gifts wisely. In Matthew 25:14-30, Christ tells the parable of the talents, where a master gives different amounts of money, talents, to his servants before going on a journey. The servants who invest and multiply their talents are rewarded, while the one who hides his talent out of fear is punished. St. John Chrysostom interprets this parable as a lesson on stewardship and accountability. Chrysostom emphasizes that the talents represent the gifts, abilities, and resources entrusted to us by God. The parable teaches that we are accountable for how we use these gifts. Those who use their talents wisely and productively are rewarded, while those who fail to use them effectively face consequences. For Chrysostom, the parable underscores the importance of diligence and responsibility in our spiritual and earthly duties. It encourages believers to actively use their God-given gifts to serve others and advance the kingdom of heaven. The message is clear. We are called to be faithful stewards of the resources entrusted to us, investing them in ways that honor God and benefit others. Christ's discourse on the end times and final judgment rounds out our exploration, providing a sobering perspective on the ultimate reckoning. In Matthew 24-25, Christ provides a detailed discourse on the signs of the end times and the final judgment. St. John Chrysostom reflects on these teachings as a reminder of the certainty of Christ's return and the importance of living a life that is ready for His coming. Chrysostom explains that Christ's descriptions of the end times are meant to encourage vigilance and righteous living. The signs of the end times, including wars, natural disasters, and moral decline, serve as reminders of the need to stay faithful and prepared. The final judgment will be a time of reckoning where each person's deeds are evaluated, and the parables we've discussed offer practical insights into how to live in accordance with God's will. For Chrysostom, this discourse serves as both a warning and an encouragement. It calls believers to live with an eternal perspective, using their time and talents wisely and remaining steadfast in faith. The final judgment is a call to align our lives with Christ's teachings, knowing that our actions and readiness will be revealed. What can we take away from Christ's teachings on the Last Judgment? 1. Grace. The parable of the workers in the vineyard reminds us of the boundless nature of God's grace and encourages us to embrace His generosity with gratitude. 2. Preparedness. The parable of the 10 virgins challenges us to be spiritually prepared and vigilant, maintaining our faith and virtues in anticipation of Christ's return. 3. Accountability. The parable of the talents calls us to use our God-given gifts wisely and to be responsible stewards of our resources. 4. Final judgment. Christ's discourse on the end times reinforces the importance of living with an eternal perspective, remaining faithful and prepared for the ultimate reckoning. Thank you for joining us on Theosis. If these reflections resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's strive to live in light of Christ's teachings, preparing our hearts for His return and the fulfillment of His kingdom. Until next time, may God's grace guide you on your journey toward Theosis.